Good afternoon. This is a regular meeting of the Cameron County Commissioners Court, Thursday, the 6th day of August, 2009. It is 5:17 p.m. As we do our meetings, we'll start with invocation. My favorite Minister, Tomas Karuba. That'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag and the Texas flag that will be led by Ms. Catalina Presas Garcia with the school board.
Jesus, we just thank you, Lord, for today, God, this time. Lord, we thank you that you can lead, you can direct, you can guide. Give wisdom, give counsel, knowledge, and might. God, let every decision that be made, God, be the decision, Lord, that you would make. Bless the county, bless each person, each man, each woman, each young person, each child. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. For those of you who do not know, Ms. Presas Garcia is a member of the Board of Trustees of the Brownsville Independent School District. Welcome. Why are you here? Here to visit? Good. Thank you. All right. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. To discuss the following items. Item A, deliberation regarding real property concerning the possible sale of Cameron County-owned properties to the U.S. Department of Army known as tract number RGD-HRL-4000, located in the Concepcion de Caricitos Grant, Cameron County, Texas, said .0181 acre tract, pursuant to Code Section 551.072. Item B, deliberation concerning possible sale of county-owned property on East Harrison and East Tyler Streets in Harlingen, Texas, and being lots 3, 4, 5, 6, Block 76, original town site of Harlingen, Cameron County, Texas, pursuant to Code Section 551.072. Item C, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning contract between Cameron County Department of Health and Human Services and the Texas Department of State Health Services for the Office of Border Health Contract as allowed by Texas Government Code 418.183F. Lastly, item D, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning contract between Cameron County Department of Health and Human Services and the Texas Department of State Health Services for the Community Preparedness Section Bioterrorism Preparedness Contract as allowed by Texas Government Code Section 418.183F. We shall be back. Session by Commissioner Tamayo. Second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. On item A, deliberation regarding real property concerning possible sale of Cameron County property. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge the report of council and proceed under the terms and conditions as discussed? Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item B, deliberation concerning possible sale of county-owned property on East Harrison and East Tyler Street. Do I hear a motion to table that item?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item C and D. No, let me go take C. Confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning contracting the Cameron County Department of Health and Human Services and Texas Department of State Health Services. Do I hear a motion to approve the contract as discussed in executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item D, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning contract between Cameron County Department of Health and Human Services and the Texas Department of State and Health Services for the Bioterrorism Preparedness Grant. Do I hear a motion to approve the contract as discussed by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item 3, public comments. We have one public comment from Mr. Fernando Luis. Mr. Luis. Just make sure his mic is on. There you go. Thank you.
Honorable Judge and Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Fernando Ruiz. Today I came to visit with you because I'm concerned about the situation that arose concerning the Sheriff's Department and Snarky Corporation, of which Mr. Cortez is the owner and a certain attorney by the name of Rick Sayas. I did a little bit of background research, and I came to understand that the business address of this firm that is contracted, that is I guess verbally contracted on a month-to-month basis with the sheriff's department, has the address of a public building. And I see this all wrong. There's a lot of things that are wrong there because the address that is shown by Snooki Corporation is the Carlos Salas, whatever, detention center or whatever on Old Alice Road. And this is a public building. Why should this corporation, which apparently is not in good standing with the state, have this public address as his own? I think this is political corruption and malfeasance. And we need for this commission, please, to overlook this matter and to investigate the situation, because we have entrusted you with the public trust. With the monies of this county, we have entrusted all of you. And you know, no one is above the law. And I would appreciate if you all look into this matter. To me, it's a great concern, and there's a lot of people out there wanting to know what's going on in county government, like we also have question marks in other public entities. Now, in reference to your tax structure about this monies that you want, I have recommended not only to the county when Mr. Hinojosa was here and to the city, never in the history of the appraisal district since its inception in 1981 or 1982, Mr. Cascos, have they had an audit. We need to make sure, if you need monies, that everybody is paying their fair share. I am aware, and I have brought it, to the presence of the city commission when they were trying to buy the property of Murphy Farms, that Murphy Farms wanted $3 million for it, and they had it in the appraisal district for $90,000. So we need to form a committee from the county on a voluntary basis, whatever you want. But we need to put everybody and say, hey, are you paying your fair share? Because we're losing monies in that area. We also have a tremendous informal economy. The underground economy in this county, which is close to the border, it has not been supervised or looked at or say, hey, we have so many people here that are in business that are not paying their taxes. You know, we have to see that because it still penalizes the one, you're penalizing the one that really is within the law. The persons that are in the law, we pay our taxes, we do what we have to do to be in compliance. And yet the persons that are not paying the law, the taxes, nobody cares. We should care because the underground economy is larger than the economy itself right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce. Let me just, I may defer to legal counsel on a couple of things. One, on that specific contract that you're talking about, whether it exists or not exists, as I understand it, that's the commissary contract, and we've spoken to our civil attorney. So you may want to explain to him that contract. Before you do that, let me talk, the appraisal district does receive an audit every year. It's a financial audit. It's not the type of audit that I think that you're talking about. I think what you're talking about is having an entity go in and randomly select tax accounts and making sure that the appraised value that's on that tax account is accurate. You know, they go out and investigate. That would be costly, but I will talk to Mr. Fructuoso Gomez, give him a call next week, and see what they're doing to make sure that that is occurring. If they need to do an agreed-upon procedures engagement with someone to go and do that, obviously they've got, I don't know how many accounts, hundreds of thousands of accounts, whatever it is. They can't obviously look at every single one, but they can't randomly select a certain percentage, and I'll call them to do that. Richard, do you want to ask?
Judge,
yes.
I'd like to add one thing to that comment.
Which
on
one?
The accounts.
Okay.
On the appraisal district, because I served in that district probably for a total of 8 years. There is an accounting that occurs from the state level. The state level checks the accounts, and we had the fights because I was on the other side with the school district fighting for values, okay? And they are checked by the state. There's an agency that is responsible for checking accounts and making sure that appraised values are where they should be. And not only do they check them, but they give them a report card as to by taxing entity where they are on that report card. And the report card gives them a 97%, a 101%, 90%. You can actually look at a taxing entity and see where the state says that your value should be in relation to where they are being taxed at.
Okay.
And that's public information.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get that report to you. Real quick. Okay.
Since 2007, sir, when the economy of this country tumbled, the value of properties have decreased by 40 or 50%. The people have lost equities on their properties, which is probably equal to another 10 or 15%. And still the appraisal district is increasing the market value of the properties. This is not right, sir. This is not correct.
I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. All I'm saying is that a report card is provided from the state to each individual taxing entity in regards to where values are in relation to what the state believes they should be. That's it.
Okay. I'll see what I can get that for
Sir,
you.
real quick, economies of scale, sir, supply and demand. The property should have been decreased in values by 50% since 2007, and they're increasing them instead of decreasing them.
And I don't dispute that.
Yeah, but that's, in all likelihood, that's probably true. The downside that you're going to have with that is, if, you know, every governmental entity that relies on appraised values for their tax, like we've been discussing the tax, you know, if the appraised values go down, that money's going to be made up somewhere, and it's only going to be within the tax rate. So the value may go down, the tax rate's going to go up, so governments continue to operate. But I'll try to get that report to you. Richard, can you address him on that commissary contract?
Yes, on under Texas statute, that is the one contract. Normally, always, the Commissioner's Court is the only body that can approve a contract for the county. The one exception that I'm aware of is the commissary contract, and that is exclusively within the jurisdiction of the sheriff. The sheriff, it doesn't, in fact, there are AG's opinions that state that that's not even to be submitted to the county purchasing officer. It excludes the purchasing officer. It excludes competitive bidding, the competitive bidding statute. It is exclusively within the jurisdiction of the sheriff. He has to, I think under the statute, his only requirement is that he has to go out for bids once every 5 years. And other than that, there's not much guidance, but it's not this, the Commissioner's Court has no supervision or discretion concerning the commissary contract.
You have oversight into making sure that the person that has the contract has a tax number registered with the state controller's office,
Well,
that they have an IRS number and that they're paying their federal taxes.
have you brought that to the attention of the sheriff? I don't know. I mean, that's something he should know.
This is not my job, sir.
Yeah.
You know, but
No, I think the answer to that question is no.
Yeah.
We do not have, in order for us to go back, I mean, if we don't have any authority over the contracting ability for the commissary, we don't have any authority to go and make sure it's a viable company, it's a legitimate company, they've got their franchise taxes paid, their corporate, nothing. That's totally up to the sheriff, and that's by state law. So this commission has nothing to do with that. I wish we could, because I think that contract should be bid out competitively every 3 years, like 05, whatever the number is, and there should be some oversight. But there's not, and until the law changes, there's nothing that we can do about it.
the position of the sheriff and the jails are property of the citizens of Cameron.
You're right.
We have a right to oversight and accountability. It's not what Mr. Lucio wants to do. This is not his jail, and it's not his county.
Well,
This county belongs to the people. of Cameron.
According to state law, that
Someone has to be accountable.
according to state law,
I see that state law, sir, because
well, he can show it to you.
in reference to a property
Yeah.
and your attorney was wrong.
Well,
And I need for this traffic to be clarified.
Well, we can do that, and I asked him that specifically on more than one occasion. It's the same thing. Just provide that. Give him your phone number or your email, and visit with him. Just come by. He'll show you the state law, and we do not have oversight. Like I said, I wish we did. We're on the same side. Don't argue with us. We're on the same side. Yeah, we're on the same side. But we don't have the sheriff in terms of the commissary. He's in charge. That's it. So, but get that statute to him, and we'll move on.
Judge,
Yes, ma'am.
but remember that you can also contact your state representatives. Because
To change the law.
To change the law. Sometimes you have to go to the state level. If, in this instance, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That,
First of all, I want to listen to the law, and then I will.
certainly,
Let's do that,
I
okay?
would recommend that.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, thank you for being here. You never come to our meetings. Thank you.
We've missed you for a few years now.
If I may make a public comment,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
I'm extremely proud of the fact, I want to thank Lieutenant Diaz and his surveillance squad, as well as Constable Cesar Diaz. We had a big problem on 281 with vandalism and graffiti. Within 2 weeks, they rounded up all the, and I'm learning their terminology. They rounded up all their subjects, as they tell me on the email, and they are being detained, and so I'm very, very proud of them. They did a good job.
No, they did, and I wish we could employ that countywide, every city, because we have a serious graffiti problem, and these guys did it in a couple of weeks. They tracked them down.
2
and
weeks.
Some adults, right? Some juveniles?
Well, we have juveniles and
adults.
so far that I know of,
They were
2 adults.
tagging
And I went to I'm going to the hearings because I want to see them. I want to see exactly what
JP Ratz offered his paddle.
I know.
His paddle.
It's not very well.
Thank you so much. All right. Are there any public comments, either public that no one signed up for, anybody signed up for? No? I'm going to take one item out of order because the chief is here, our customs chief is here, and I know he's got bridges to run and people to see. So let me go to, under presentation and resolution items, let me go to item C, presentation by U.S. Customs and Border Protection on waiting times at international bridges. We visited about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we went by to go visit specific on other projects, and we talked about that. I want you to bring to the court what is occurring, why we have the long waits at the bridge, and then just give us your deal. Do you have a PowerPoint that you're going to show us?
Yeah, I can, just a, not really a PowerPoint, but just some graphs of wait times,
Good.
comparison to that.
For whatever it's worth, my only information is what I hear on the radio when I'm driving home in
The
the
wait
afternoon.
times are so...
The wait time at B&M Bridge is 45 minutes. Sir?
80.
80?
Not that way.
Gateway, you know. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz.
Gateway.
Stay well.
Gateway.
Okay. Thank you again for inviting me to hopefully try to clarify some.
Just introduce yourself, Chief.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know everybody knows you, but...
I'm Michael Freeman. I'm the Port Director for U.S. Customs and Border Protection for the Brownsville Ports of Entry, which encompass all the ports of entry within Cameron County, the airports and seaports. What I'd like to do is break down each of the bridges, comparison prior to our Western Hemisphere Travel Initiative that started in June. So I'm going to look at May and July, show you a comparison of the wait times and the traffic counts compared to 08 to 09. And you'll see like generally a steady decrease in the wait times from May to July. And some of it's attributed to a lower traffic volume, but some of it's not. And we're hoping that it's mainly attributed to the mandatory use of passports for U.S. citizens. Okay, so I'd like to look at first here is the Veterans International Bridge. What you'll see on the blue part is May of 09, the maroon part is July of 09. And our peak that what we're looking at is generally a decrease except for just a few hours between 1 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The overall aggregate total from May of 09 was an average of 27 minutes. That's taken from 6 o'clock in the morning until midnight.
So just so I know, the hour of the day, which says 1400, that's 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
That is 2 o'clock, that's in military time. That doesn't mean that is the longest it is. That is the average taking from, say, July 1st to July 31st at 2 o'clock. You can have one day where you had a 0 wait at 2 o'clock. The next day you could have had a 200-minute wait. The average is 100. But I did break down a little in there to try to show you a comparison with it. The peak time at the Veterans Bridge in July of this year was 90 minutes. That's the longest wait that we had at the Veterans Bridge, reported by the travelers. And that was on July 31st. Compared to May, our longest wait that we had was 1 hour and 50 minutes. And that was on May 22nd and May 25th. So our...
What day of the week was that? Do you know offhand?
Probably the weekend.
See, 31st just was, I just got back from vacation. We don't look at it. See, it's probably a week ago.
May 22nd is a Friday?
31st.
Oh,
And sometimes it's not, it can happen on a Monday or a Friday. The reason why is at Veterans, that's where we have the most commercial trucks coming in. So they're starting to commingle with the traffic, and what happens is you get a bottleneck. So you have one lane is Century, and then you have 2 lanes between private vehicles and commercial vehicles. And they get intermingled in there. The cars block the truck lanes, the trucks block the car lanes. So it's not really it's one is blocking the other. We're still processing, and we're still going to have a wait time, but it shouldn't be as long as it should be because of sometimes of the longer, of the configuration of the bridge and the lanes that we have. And Veterans traditionally is our longest wait time for our bridges because it only has 3 operational lanes. We have 4 lanes there, but one is a Century, dedicated for Century use. Then you have 3 other operational lanes. And then taking that a little bit further, in July, we had 10 days this July where we had at least 2 hours of a 1-hour wait time or longer, compared to May where we had 16. So in May, there were 16 days where we had at least a 1-hour wait more than 2 consecutive hours. That has decreased almost by 50% just in 1 month. I mean, just between May and July. Right. And here's your traffic volume here. This is inbound traffic only. This is comparing 08 to 09. Basically, except for June, where there was from an 8,000 car decrease, the other months have been pretty much on par. The one thing I'd like to add also is nationwide, vehicle counts are down 19%. However, in Brownsville, we're only down 7%. However, the Brownsville ports are the 4th largest port in the United States, taking our 4 ports together. We only have a 7% decrease compared to a 19% decrease on the average nationwide.
is that for the month or for the year?
For the fiscal year. So we're 7 weeks to go into the end of the fiscal year, we're down 7%. But that's taking the 4 bridges together, and that's the only way I can get these stats officially and tell you out versus looking myself. Because the only thing I can publish here is what's published by our headquarters. But looking at here, comparing our traffic in July, we did have more of a traffic volume in July than we did last July. However, our wait times were generally the same in July. This is Gateway. Once again, in Gateway, as you can see, the blue, which was May of 09, was predominantly higher than in June of 09. Our peak times in May were at 4 o'clock, where it was 47 minutes. And then generally in July, it was about 33 to 35 minutes. Our peak time in July was on May 27th, an hour and 15 minutes. And in May, it was an hour and 40 minutes on May 26th. Here, we do see a decrease in the traffic, as we can probably see in the traffic weights. We have a decrease in traffic volume, and we have a decrease in traffic weights. I'm not sure if you'd like me to discuss B&M or not. No? Okay. And then lastly is the Los Indios
Unless they
Bridge.
have real long wait times. Then let us know.
Well, for our purposes, B&M is the most heavily northbound traffic facility we do have in the city. Their wait times are a lot longer.
I'd like to see it.
I'll briefly go over it. As you can see, we do have, at least from a 5-hour period, of an average of 40 minutes. Our peak that we've had in July was an hour and 40 minutes in July. That was July 9th. And compared to a peak in May, it was 2 hours and 30 minutes. at B&M. We've had 12 days at B&M to where we've had at least a 1 hour wait, two consecutive hours or more.
Thank you.
Now, why, let me ask, why is this, do you have all your little lanes open?
Yes.
To avoid, all of them?
When do they stop, all of them being open? What time?
Well, Judge, the one thing I do is we schedule the lanes to be open. Next point I was going to go into, which is some of the mitigating circumstances that happen,
Okay.
is we have close to an 80% increase in the amount of interceptions. So what happens now is, this is narcotic interceptions, cocaine, marijuana, fugitive arrests.
You have an 80% increase
80?
from last year to this year? Why?
No, in July,
Oh, in July?
In
But
July.
From what time frame? From the prior July?
from the prior July.
Why do you think that is?
The only thing that we can think of is the hardening of the border by the Border Patrol. I mean, they're funneling into the port of entry. You know, we're seeing more violence at the ports, you know, more confrontations at the ports, because the smugglers are getting frustrated. If they have this, so-called barrier that's blocking them from coming in, they have, close to, over 2,000 agents down in the valley, they're going to have to come through some way.
In other words, the increase of Border Patrol
That's, I mean...
in surveillance.
Yeah, there's an increase in surveillance, so they're going to have to come through some way. If their vehicle is being barred from coming in, be it by barriers, they're going to have to try to come through the port. So what happens is, once we get one of these seizures here, we have to have that officer process it. It doesn't mean that lane now is going to be shut until he's finished. It's just when that officer goes out to his commitments. So it may be 1 hour, that lane will be closed, an hour will be open. Then once he's supposed to go out again, it will be closed.
So you don't have backups when that, I guess not, you don't have backups, well, that are sitting there, to keep them open all the time when there is a seizure?
Not, during the day we do, because I can pull up from some of my training departments and my administrative staff. But if it's at the night, 8 o'clock at night, I don't have just extra staff floating around because I'd have to pay them overtime. And some days we may have a seizure and some days we may not, and it'd be really cost prohibitive, to have someone on double time just to sit around just in case something happens. But we do have an increase in staff to where what's happening now is the times that people are crossing are condensed to where it's, you have the weekend. We have all the lanes open. There's no more that we can do. You can see all the bridges here downtown. The biggest bridge we have is Gateway with 5 lanes. That at least needs to be doubled.
That there's going to be when school starts up again in September, late August or September, you're going to have even more of an influx of people bringing their kids to school, private schools, of course.
Correct.
And they're going to be bringing them in. What accommodations are you going to be making to make sure that those kids get through quickly?
Well, our lanes, right now during the summer, because we still have worker traffic coming in, we have 4 of the 5 lanes open up at Gateway. All lanes open up at B&M and Veterans.
How many lanes at B&M? 3?
4.
4? Okay.
Right, so all of our lanes are open except one at 6 in the morning. And then at 8 it goes to all lanes. And that's based upon the traffic weight. Right now with 4 lanes open up at Gateway, generally, there always can be a spike. But generally,
if you have all the lanes open and people are still having to wait anywhere from 50 minutes to 100 minutes, or, are you all doing, are you just looking at documents more closely? What is the average wait time for a vehicle from the time it gets into your little cubicle for the time it gets out?
if you take the average of, I know you can't have a quarter of a person, but the average person per car is from about 2.8. If you take the aggregate total of that.
Minutes.
No, 2.8 persons per car.
Correct.
You take that.
Let's assume 3 people
So
per
we'll say
car.
3 people per
Okay.
car. It should take about anywhere between
10
50 to 75 seconds.
A minute and a half, roughly.
I mean, it would be considering if they're U.S. citizens, it'd be considering if they're Mexican nationals. U.S. citizens, it's more of a cursory examination, looking at their documentation versus a Mexican national. You have to look at entry documents and considering where they're coming from and where they're declaring. They're coming, so if they're declaring more merchandise, we may have to look at it a little bit further before we refer him to secondary.
On the Mexican Nationals, what are you doing today different than what was being done, let's say, 2 years ago or 18 months ago? On the Mexican Nationals?
On primary inspection, nothing.
It's the same, right?
It's the same.
Okay. So so what segment of the population is taking longer now to review?
Nothing's taking longer. It's taking shorter for U.S. citizens.
Okay.
Now, these times that I gave you now are decreased from before. Before, it was probably anywhere between 90 to 100 to 120 seconds.
From a year ago, the times have decreased.
Right. Our inspectional rate has increased because, we have, as the technology increases, the inspectional rate has decreased. It's just as much as it will once the RFIDs come into place, to where once the documents of the
RFIDs,
the radio frequency identifiers, the little chips that would be in your U.S. passports, the Mexican passports, border crossing cards, and green cards.
Okay.
Once that comes into line, then that takes out the technology, the manual labor part of the officer typing in or swiping documents.
are you fully staffed at this point? To be able to provide the services to all the bridges?
On paper, yes, sir.
On paper, but not physically, huh? Now, did you mention the fact that, or do I have the wrong concept here? The more people in a car, the longer it's going to take.
Yes, ma'am.
But isn't there a certain amount of profiling going on also?
Never,
Not that I know of, no.
never,
He can't tell you.
never profile.
Okay, now, silly question. What do you mean on paper? What does that mean?
A piece of paper says I have a number, and I'm staffed to that
And
number.
you don't have that number?
I do.
He's going to say he does, but he doesn't.
No, what I'm saying is, my authorized staffing level, I'm probably, plus or minus 5 positions at my staffing level.
Okay.
Yeah, what is authorized by
And I
Congress, yes,
guess
sir.
forget because they don't do good things anyway, but how many people do you think you need more to operate at your best capacity?
I can probably talk to you more in private with that, sir. No, but see, the thing is, with the different initiatives, different challenges that we have, any facility can always use more.
Well, the frustration, I'm sure some of us may have gotten calls, having to wait in line for an hour and a half. I got some calls of people that were in Matamoros over the weekend, and thank God I didn't go, but they were coming back from a function, and some were an hour and a half at 2 or 3 in the morning, an hour and a half wait times. And I just don't see that much traffic 2 or 3 in the morning. I just don't. So I was trying to figure out, do you keep all your lanes open, like, up until 3 a.m., or do you shut them down at midnight or 11 o'clock, or?
Before a shift change, if we do have waits, we will keep over the next shift. That shift that's about to leave until we can have the traffic cleared. But unfortunately, what happens is at 11, 12 o'clock, if there's no traffic, we let that shift go, and then 2, 3 o'clock, if traffic comes up, then we're stuck with what we have.
Yeah, okay.
And that's an unfortunate thing. And then one thing that we also look at is, during the summer when the weather is a little bit hotter, your times exaggerate a little too. I can even do it with myself. I was in Mexicali, Baja California last week, 120 degrees. I thought I was waiting an hour for an hour and a half. And when I looked at my watch after it was all said and done, it was 45 minutes. I was, air-conditioned car, but it was miserable. But when you're thinking one thing and seeing one thing is a totally different thing, because the best gauge of wait times that we can have for our downtown bridges is veterans, because they have a toll receipt. So we can take, and we know that it's not going to be a 2-mile wait. So we can take that toll from one end to the next end. And that's how we can pretty much accurately gauge our times. Here at Gateway, it's a little bit harder, because if the wait is past the toll, then you have to take the word of the travelers. And to be honest with you, the way that we take the waits is every hour each lane will ask 3 different cars. So you get 15, say, queries of what the wait time is. Add it, divide it. That's your wait. So, it's not something that we make up. It's just what we're getting. If someone tells us 2 hours, okay, we're going to write 2 hours. The next one says 45 minutes, and we'll put 45 minutes.
All right.
So it's not 100, yeah, it's not 100% accurate.
No, ma'am, I mean, there's nothing, I
no
mean,
way.
because we cannot, on the northern border, we do have a little bit more cooperation from the Canadian government to where we can put some of our equipment there to better monitor wait times, but that is something that we haven't come into agreement with the government of Mexico yet. But to be rest assured, for your constituents, the wait times are very important. And do I need to increase staff? Yes, I do. I mean, because that will alleviate to where if I have to pull someone off, if there's an arrest, if there's a seizure, I can backfill it immediately. And that's our goal, is to have our wait times at a manageable level to where we can focus on getting and increasing our numbers in weapons smuggling, currency smuggling, narcotics smuggling, alien smuggling. That's what we want. We want the legitimate travelers to be on their way to where we can focus on the people that we don't want in our country.
I know on Sunday, my wife and I were coming back from Matamoros, and I was really wishing I
4 in
had
the
the
morning, right?
No, 11 a.m. Sunday morning. I was really wishing I had the Sentry Pass because the cars were just whizzing by. We were in line 82 minutes, but when I got, and this was at Veterans Bridge, when we got close enough to where we could see what was happening at the primary, they were clearing them anywhere from about 40 seconds to about a minute and a half. I mean, they were pushing them on through. It's just there were a lot of vehicles in line. And of course, the line we were in was the slow line.
Of course.
I always get the
all
slow
the time.
line.
And there are times when traffic will stop.
And the car next to me, as we first got in line, he left primary 10 minutes before we did. That's just, I was in the slow line.
Yeah. I mean, every certain amount of time, we have to switch out the officers for integrity reasons, so you have to shut off your system and turn on your system. So you do have that, so that's why sometimes you may see traffic not even moving. And that can occur anywhere between 1 to 3 times an hour.
Yeah, some lady was coming back in the Sentry lane, going back to Matamoros. I figured something had happened, and she turned around and decided to go back. It was interesting.
You mean in the Sentry lane?
In the Sentry
Well,
lane.
they may not have been a Sentry user, so they may have been a Sentry violation.
No, she hadn't gone in the Sentry.
She hasn't gone,
We hadn't seen her go in Sentry, but she turned around and went
Oh.
back to Mexico in Sentry.
okay.
Maybe they just told her she
Okay.
couldn't come
Okay.
in the U.S.
Yeah.
Do these times also reflect the pedestrian traffic?
We do monitor the pedestrian traffic at Gateway, which I looked at, before coming over, I looked at the last few months. There's been a little spikes, but nothing. The only time I really stopped the pedestrian is in the morning during school hours. During the school year, because during the summer, it's really minimal, except on the weekends. You may have a little bit of the labor traffic coming in the morning, but that's only for a few hours, where we have about 2 or 3 lanes open up during that time, to where it really never reaches the foot of the bridge, which we'll be talking anywhere between 6 to 9 in the morning during the week.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? No? I want to thank you, because every time I call you to come make a presentation, you've never said no. I want to thank you for providing that information to us, and thank you. Anything else?
Thank you.
Any questions? No? No? From the audience, anybody? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Do I hear a motion to acknowledge report?
So moved.
By Commissioner Tamayo. Second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item 4A, presentation on the Cameron County Stormwater Management Plan, Public Education and Outreach on Stormwater Impacts.
Good evening, Judge and Commissioners. We thank you for the opportunity to bring to you a short presentation on our stormwater management plan. This is something that we've been working behind the scenes basically for the past year, but we're actually in our second-year plan, and I think this would be a good opportunity for you all to see what we're doing and make you aware of the program itself and where we're heading. I have here Mr. Todd Kempton from TETSI. We've been working together in implementing the program, and so I'm going to have him come over and do a short presentation. We won't take too long, but at least it gives you the opportunity to ask questions after the presentation. And with having said that, I'm going to go ahead and have Todd from TETSI do his presentation. Thank you.
Good evening. As Ernesto had said, we've been working on this for a couple of years, implementing the original stormwater management program for the county, and then implementing the phases of that program. What I want to do, I want to give you a general background on the stormwater management plan itself, but I want to take just a little bit of time to explain why we've gotten to where we are actually having to have a stormwater management plan. So I'm going to kind of go back in time just a little bit. At the national level, we have something called the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, better well known as the NPDES program. Under the Federal Clean Water Act of 1972, the NPDES permit program was set up, and it controls water pollution by regulating sources of pollution that discharge into waters of the United States. A water of the United States is basically any creek, any river, any stream, any tributary, any basic body of water, even if it's not navigable 12 months out of the year, it's still basically it's the waters of the United States.
Is a retention pond waters of the United States?
No, retention ponds are not. I think actually, I think that off-system wetlands have even been taken off, I believe, don't quote me on that, but I think a few years ago they took off-channel wetlands off of the list as well. Okay. NPDES permits are issued to industrial, municipal, and other point source discharges by either the EPA or an authorized state. State implementation is a fundamental concept that runs throughout the Clean Water Act and is also a cornerstone of the NPDES program. By allowing the states to implement the program, it allows state managers to set priorities and tailor the program to meet the challenges facing the waters of that state and to satisfy the desires of its citizens. So thus, what they did in the 1990s was the federal government said, we're going to give this over to the states. Currently, 44 states oversee the NPDES program, Texas being one of those. So in Texas, it's called the TPDES. It's the same program, it's a federal mandate, but it's authorized and run by the state. Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, or TCEQ, operates this program under the Texas Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. The TPDES stormwater permitting program is intended to improve the quality of states' rivers, lakes, streams by reducing pollution from non-point sources as well as point sources. The difference between the two of a point source and a non-point source, your municipal wastewater treatment plant is considered a point source. Because there is a point at which that discharges into a waters of the United States. It's trackable. Non-point sources are construction activities, people's yards, parking lots, things like that. TPS general permit was issued on August 13, 2007 and authorizes the discharge of stormwater to surface waters of the state from small municipal separate storm sewer systems, or MS4s. The general permit specifies which MS4s must obtain permit coverage. The permit also specifies that where discharges will reach waters of the United States or waters of the state, a stormwater management plan must be developed and implemented and includes the minimum requirements for that program. So what is an MS4? A municipal separate storm sewer system, or MS4, is defined basically as a separate storm sewer system that includes ditches, curbs, gutters, storm sewers, and similar means of collecting or conveying runoff that do not connect with a wastewater collection system or treatment plant. Second, to be a municipal separate storm sewer system, the system must be owned and operated by a public agency, a city, a town, a municipal utility district, a county, or state or federal agency. So under there's two phases of the rule. Phase one of the rule was issued in 1990. It required MS4s greater than 100,000 in population to develop a stormwater management program. Phase two, issued in 2007, affects many small cities and counties, including Cameron, and other entities that operate MS4s in urbanized areas with populations of less than 100,000. So let's get into a little bit of what the stormwater management plan is itself. It's a comprehensive document that details the steps that the MS4 will take to reduce or eliminate pollutants in stormwater discharges to the maximum extent practical. The MS4 must develop any necessary ordinances, regulations, or other regulatory controls to meet the general permit requirements to the extent not prohibited by state or federal laws. The general permit does allow MS4s to share resources and meeting responsibilities for the stormwater management plan with other regulated MS4s that are physically interconnected.
Who defines the maximum extent practical? The person developing the plan?
Well, when you're developing, for instance, we're in the process right now of developing some pre- and post-construction ordinances, construction ordinances for the county. At that point, I'm assuming that legal will have to take a look at that and then evaluate it, and then with staff and myself, to make sure that we're staying within guidelines and we're not overstepping our bounds from a state or federal level.
Because maximum extent practical could be big variance.
Oh, yeah, well, that's why they wrote it this way. It leaves it very ambiguous, it does for sure. But between your staff and myself, we'll make sure. Anything that we're developing right now is well within the law. If you're physically interconnected with another MS4 or you're located within the same watershed, you can combine some of your efforts. For example, Cameron County could work with City of Brownsville on combining some efforts of their plans. We haven't done that so far, but down the road, if it's felt like that there's better bang for the buck. For example, if you were going to do some public outreach where you wanted to do some 15-second commercial ads or something, you might want to combine with a couple of the major cities in Cameron County to help pay for that cost. But with that being said, individual stormwater management plans must be developed and maintained by each MS4, even if you combine efforts between the two or between more than one. If you operate a regulated small MS4, you must develop a stormwater management plan that includes these 6 control measures. The state calls them minimum control measures, or MCMs, and within the MCMs, when they lay out these minimum control measures, they give you a list of best management practices that you have to pick from. There's a certain amount you have to pick under each minimum control measure. So what I've done here, I'm just quickly going to go through the minimum control measures, and I've listed a few to give you an idea, a few of the best management practices that we put into Cameron County's stormwater management program. First being public education outreach. Some of the things we're in the process of implementing are a website, stormwater hotline, educational posters, and brochures.
When you say we, would you identify who we is?
Myself and working with county staff, working with Ernesto and Pete and others. Public involvement or participation, poster board contests, presentations, and public input, some things that we're implementing right now. Detection and elimination of illicit discharges. That includes storm drain marking, watershed signage, and GIS mapping. The GIS mapping is basically mapping all stormwater inlets that are going into regulated water bodies within Cameron County. Controls for stormwater runoff from construction sites, SW3P, or Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, also known as a Site Construction Control Ordinance. We're in the process of, that's the draft level right now. We've developed inspection procedures that will go along with that for county inspectors. Also developed and have developed presentations for contractors. Post-construction stormwater management in areas of new development and redevelopment. There, within that we have a post-construction ordinance that's at a draft process right now, a draft state right now. And finally, pollution prevention and good housekeeping measures for municipal operations. A few things that we're doing there, spill prevention, containment, and countermeasure plan, and presentations for county staff to educate them.
Now, you have these 6 control measures, which look excellent, and you say these are examples?
No, these are the 6.
These are the 6.
These are the 6 that are laid out by the state.
Okay, and who's going to implement that?
We're in the process, they're being implemented. We're in year 2 of the implementation of a 5-year implementation. So we're in the stage, for example, the SPCC plan, the one on the very bottom, pollution prevention and good housekeeping. We're in the process of developing that plan right now. It's in the works. It's in a draft status right now. And year 2, that's part of what we've called out. It's spread out over a 5-year period. We're in a draft process right now for that plan. The second thing on their presentations, I'm going to give a presentation tomorrow morning to staff in San Benito as part of that requirement, to educate the staff. So these things are, over the course of a 5-year period, everything, all of these minimum control measures and the best management practices within those will be fully implemented.
Well, I'm just thinking like Ernesto's standing there, and this is a big,
Just to elaborate a little bit more what you're saying, when we say staff, there's only one person working on this plan. That's myself and him and Pete. We don't have a full staff. Even though the plan requires a full staffed system where we can operate in the future to implement this plan, because this plan is very comprehensive. But if you need to find out a little bit more detail about the plan, it is in the website. We have a website in the county website, and you can look under the engineering department. There's a stormwater plan and some other information in there for the public.
I'm sure that's, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sure, no, but I was going to say, what we're trying to do here is just bring forth some information that we're barely implementing. When I say implementing, we're just beginning to develop certain things, ordinances for the construction sector, public outreach, making presentations. This is the first of many things that will follow. So that's why we wanted to bring this short presentation so you can be aware of where we're heading, and we're still a long ways from the full plan. But this is the initial stage.
It's just that I always get concerned that you spend a lot of time on a plan, and then someone's going to have to implement the plan. And I can't,
We're going to implement it.
the three of you, Pete, you, and this gentleman.
In engineering, because Pete, I'm sure, has other things to do, and he's limited to what he can supply to us. But basically, it'll be me and our staff in engineering to implement the plan.
Wow.
But we're working with it. I think we're making ground. We'll come back to the court on different things that we are looking at that will help us move along in the next 2 or 3 years and make sure we comply with the state, because we already have a plan. It's a mandated plan, and we have to abide by it. And so we're doing the best we can with what we have. But I think we're getting along all right.
I'm going to feel awfully guilty when I keep calling to ask you if the plans for certain roads are done, when I know you're also doing this, but I'm still calling, so I don't know how you're going to do it.
Well, it's a measurable, the plan is, and let me go through the slide, and this helps explain some of it, and I can go in a little more in depth. The MS4 must evaluate the items below and must include this information in an annual report. You must demonstrate program compliance, the appropriateness of the chosen BMPs that you've put in under each one of the minimum control measures, and you have to show that you're making progress towards achieving the identified measurable goals. A stormwater management program is not required to be fully implemented until the end of the 5-year permit period. However, steady progress towards the development must be made over the 5-year period. Reporting detailed progress of the stormwater management implementation is required annually for the first permit term. Once Cameron County's through the first 5-year permit term, there will no longer be any annual reporting. The state was smart enough to know that this isn't something you can do in 1 year. It's just too much to do. That's the reason that they said, we want this to be a 5-year, we want the first permit, we're under the stormwater permit now, but to implement our end of it, or the county's end of it, they said, we want the small MS4s to have 5 years to get everything implemented, because we can't do it all at one time. After that point, they feel that at the end of the 5-year period, that everything should be up and running and implemented, and then at that point, there will no longer be annual reporting. It will be just paying your fee and getting coverage under the Texas General Permit every 5 years is the way that will end up. But when we submit an annual report every year. What we've told them we're going to do in year 2, that's in it's the program itself is a huge thick document. It goes to an evaluator at TCQ, and they're the ones who check to make sure that we are in compliance. This is what we said year 2 was going to include. Here's what we've done in year 2 to show the compliance. So we're on a schedule. We're on a regimented schedule to get things done and complete.
You have your timeline, in other words.
Yes, ma'am. We have the 5-year timeline.
How much money came down with this requirement?
Oh, it's an unfunded mandate, of course. Excuse me. It went from the federal government to the states, and they told the states, it'd be a great idea, if it's what I read earlier about it's great that the states can tailor make it. Well, it's an unfunded mandate. And then the states just disseminated it down.
That's why I couldn't help but grin when you said the state was smart enough.
Yeah, well, in their infinite wisdom. Just to give you this, my final slide, to kind of give you an idea of where we are. We're in year 2 of 5 of this implementation. And some of the things that either are already implemented or we're in the process of finalizing implementation. The Cameron County Stormwater Management Plan website and hotline is up and running. Educational materials, including brochures, bumper stickers, poster board contest, public education, commercial education, county staff education, storm drain marking, watershed signage, new ordinances to address illicit discharges, and post-construction/reconstruction stormwater management, development of a stormwater pollution prevention plan for construction and site inspection procedures, guidance document and BMPs for post-construction for developers, spill response program development for county maintenance yards, and the annual report. The final thing will be the annual report to TCEQ to maintain our compliance. So that's where we are, a snapshot of today.
It's a lot of work.
That concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Commissioner? No?
So
Thank you,
you're
Tom.
available, excuse me.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're available for presentations for various groups, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am, because, well, that's part of the ongoing program, is to continue to educate public. Yes, so I am for public or commercial, so,
That's your part.
yes, ma'am.
That's all we have.
Thank you, Todd.
If you have any other questions, then
Any other questions or commentary? No? Thank you, Ernesto.
Move to
Thank
acknowledge
you.
report.
Moved by Commissioner Wood to acknowledge, seconded by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item B, presentation of the Park System 2009 third quarter revenue report and expense report.
Evening, Judge, Commissioners. I handed out a little binders with a breakdown of our third quarter revenue report. In overall, the park system, we saw an increase of 6.6%. And if you go through each individual park, you can see where the increases were. Isla Blanca, we had a 4.3% increase, which was $45,125.93. Andy Bowie, we had $11,239.57, which was 15.2% increase. Adolph Tomei Junior Park was $10,325.93, which was 17% increase. Public beaches, which is beach access 5 and 6, we saw for number 5 a 21% increase, which was $8,132. For beach access number 6, it was $2,133.50, which was 6.3% increase. Our community parks was 60%. That's high, I mean, because last year we didn't rent the center out. Of course, it was the month of April, which we rented out the center quite a bit. E.K. Atwood Park, which is also beach access 5, we had an increase of 21%, which was $8,113.50. Again, it was overall, we had the entire park system had a 6.6% increase, which was $85,520. The back part of this report, I must apologize, there's several errors in it. If I may, I'd like to correct those and send those to you all in an email. We worked on those the last couple of days and trying to get some information from a couple of months ago from our encumbrance reports, but it's just some of the numbers we put in either with, you know, how it automatically calculates for you the spreadsheets.
Why don't you, can you just tell us where the errors are?
Yeah.
So we'll know?
Okay, like Andy Bowie, on the bottom, you can see where the expenditures are. On June 09, you show the anticipated expenses of 22,000, and then you go over to the next column.
We'll show the variance?
Yes,
Okay.
variance doesn't show a difference.
But are the totals at the bottom correct?
No. Well, the only thing that would be off would be the variance
Well,
column.
but if the 201 is correct
Yes,
and the 162 is correct,
that's
so the
right.
variance should, we can do the math.
Right. And again, what I did at the last presentation that we did, y'all had asked me to figure out when the peaks and non-peaks part of our department is. And what I did was I did it on our expenses and not necessarily on our revenues, because some of our parks are pretty consistent. For example, like Isla Blanca, we have, if it's not one thing or another, it's you know, like during the wintertime, we're full, we're 100%.
Yeah.
Longer than we are during the summer. So it's almost not necessarily a wash, but the offset is pretty much equal.
So where's the other mistake?
The other mistakes would be on, and it's not a mistake, but community parks, you see the variance is so much. On the last column, on the expenses, is $63,530 as a negative. What that is when we did a budget amendment or moved our employees over from to community parks, the money didn't go with it. So our employees are paid out of community parks,
Yeah.
but the budget is in Brownie Road. So if you go to the last page, which is Brownie Road, there's a positive number there
Because of that.
because of that. And administration,
Well, but though, hold on. If you go to the expense side of the committee parks, the total of the 211
yes,
and then the 216, there's an error there, right? That number should not be a deficit of 63,000, it should be like 5,000. Is that right? Am I looking at the right page? Right?
right.
Is that what you're talking about? But
Well,
that's not it.
Right, to the end of,
Well, I'm just looking at totals. If that total is $211,000 in what your budgeted expenses are, and through June, you've already expended $216,000, so that means that number is going to be, well, right now, it's not 63,000, it's
No.
only 5,000. So it's going to be below the 63,000 that you've got there. So is that what you're talking about?
right. But see, still, I mean, this number here, 216, only brings you up to
That's
the month of
correct.
June, right?
That's right.
So you still need to add July, August, and September, so it's going to be
Even
further
higher? Yeah, but it's not 63,000 right now?
No.
Okay.
You
It's
anticipate,
like 5,000.
Right, it's 5,000.
It's like 5,000, okay.
The 63, I think you added all of the variances.
That's correct.
yes, that's what he did.
Got it?
The only other one is, like I was mentioning, administration, the last column, again, in our expenses. What it did was, it moved the monthly expenses over to the variance, which shows that, you know, the 110 twice and the 55,000, so it shows that expense.
Well, it's the same thing, if you go to the Benavides Park, that variance is also not right,
Because it's added up.
because it's added up. Correct. But
So
even then,
that's a case
but it
with every,
should, they should be the same. The thing is, I think you need to carry that 16,603.75 that are unused over as a positive variance, but okay, you're going to fix that.
And what he needs to do,
The formula's wrong.
well, no, I think what's the problem is that, like, if you go back to community court, he's got the monthly anticipated expenses for the entire year. Really don't
Right.
for 9 months.
exactly, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, the formula's not right.
Yeah.
Well, what I do is, on the expenses, whatever our budgeted amount is, that's why I total it, but yeah,
Okay.
Do you have a summary for community parks? A summary page? No?
No, just the front. But,
When you do the corrections, Javier, you need to change the formula, because that formula is not doing what I think you want it to do, okay? 'Cause if you foot the variance columns down, it should be the same thing as if you take the monthly expenses versus the actual, it should give you the same number, okay? But you gotta carry over like the actuals that you don't have, you gotta carry the monthly anticipate over to the side to make this thing foot, or else you'll never foot, it'll never balance.
okay.
Any questions? Anything else, Javier? No? Do I hear a motion to acknowledge?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second? By Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Consent items.
So it would be safe to assume that the park system is kind of getting back to operational before the hurricane,
Yes, sir.
right? Yeah. That's.
On consent items, that includes travel items that are paid either through grant funding or at no cost to the county. So are there any consent items that any member of the court wish to take out and discuss separately?
I'd like an explanation on A.
Okay, we'll take out 5A. 5A. Anything else?
Judge, on item P, I need to add some language. I need to have them add some language on the
Okay, well,
harmless.
let's just take that one out.
Okay.
Anything else?
Judge,
Q,
yes, I was in a,
Q,
Q as in quail?
U,
U as in you?
and that's it.
All right. If there's nothing else, do I hear a motion to approve consent items 5A through double P with the exception of 5A, P, Q, and U, which we will discuss separately?
Judge Lopez asked for item 5Y to, I guess, be disregarded or tabled.
Y,
I don't know. She just asked.
table.
Table. All right. Do I hear a motion for all the other ones?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 5A, consideration and approval of a supplemental work authorization number 2 to work authorization number 2 between Cameron County and SMB Infrastructure for the West Rail project.
I just wondered, I had my question, Pete, and maybe we can go to the chase here. On the first paragraph under the historic survey,
Yes.
it says this study area is larger than first anticipated. How did that happen?
We have been going back and forth between TxDOT, the Environmental Division. What has occurred on the alignment for the West Rail, since we cleared the environmental assessment, there have been pipelines that have gone, within 100 feet of our alignment. And so consequently, our position was that since we are within the same general vicinity, we don't need to go back and redo an archaeological and a historical survey as TxDOT was requesting. We were not able to allow TxDOT to utilize those studies that have been previously done by other pipeline companies, and so we're having to come back and amend the alignment that we had for the study itself, and so that's why we're doing this additional supplemental work authorization. And we've fought it. I've taken it as far as I can, and we've gotten nowhere with TxDOT, really their environmental division, and we're under a time crunch because we got $7.8 million in stimulus money, and we need to get this project under construction by February. And unless we do that, they will not sign off on the environmental clearance. And so we really,
No choice.
we have no choice,
They're holding you hostage, that's what they're doing.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion for approval.
By Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item
Constable,
P.
that All these areas are ancient floodplains, right?
Consideration approval of the fiscal year 2010-2011 Other Victim Assistant Grant Contract for the District Attorney's Victim Assistance Program.
Judge and Commissioners, this contract is with the Office of the Attorney General's office, but there is a indemnification paragraph, and I would just like to have them add some language so that
You want to
we can
approve it
stick with-
subject to legal review?
Yes,
and approval?
please.
Do I hear a
Yes,
motion by
Second.
Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Wood? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item Q, consider...
Was that on item P?
P.
Yeah, that's one of ours. It's a standard form of agreement.
It's done.
Well,
Subject to legal?
Subject to legal. Is that all right, or did you have something else?
it's a standard form of agreement, and if you don't accept their terms, you may not get the grant money.
Okay.
Subject to legal.
Okay. Item Q, consideration authorization to award bids, RFPs, RFQs for the following: laser printing of the 2009 tax statements and envelopes, annual bid number 1640.
Judge, can I pull that out because it says discussion there?
Yes, sir.
So you're going to discuss whether we
Consideration
need to or not?
authorization?
No, on this.
Oh, okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Well,
Item carries. Thank you,
did we
Michael.
have any discussion that we needed to have?
There's a
No?
typo.
You already did.
Okay.
No,
It's been discussed.
we were recommending,
Mike.
we were recommending the...
That's okay, Mike.
Good job.
Don't worry about it.
Good.
I just saw discussion.
Are you also you?
Yes, sir.
Consideration author, that didn't sound right, but okay. Consideration and authorization to award bids, RFPs, RFQs for the following agenda management software, RFP number 081002.
This was on last time it was tabled, and
Commissioner, you
we
tabled that.
spent some time...
No, we were asked to table this. I didn't table it.
Right.
It was, we pulled it out.
I pulled it out because
They
And
recommended that we
since
do.
then, we met with Robert and Joe Rivera to go back over this and see if we can come up with the funding source. The vendor, the best vendor by the committees was Manatron, a vendor that has extensive reference in the state of Texas doing that.
did you find the money?
And the money, when it came down to that section of the equation, we laid out for you in your package. You should have an option A and B before you. And I'll let Robert and Joe take you through those options.
Was it included in our packet?
Yes, they brought one down for you this afternoon. I left it
I don't have,
Left it where?
on your...
Well, just explain it to us.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
just explain. Where did they leave it?
Judge Commissioners, originally we had asked last week that this item be tabled. Part of the Department of Energy block grants are available. I had taken the opportunity to submit an application for this specific project along with a few others that we've had some assessments done. However, in further discussion with Mr. Rivera and Mr. Forbes, we did come up with some other options for funding this project. I'll start with the one I think is the better of the options, is option B. In discussing it with Mr. Rivera, and not to put words in his mouth, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, he's agreed to fund the first part of the payment, which is a $27,436,100 amount, which will be due October of this year. If we take this route, the other payments won't be due until the next following fiscal year, which would be the total of $19,436. And then from there would be year 3, year 4, and year 5 would be financed over 5 years. But in order to kick off the project and get it started, Joe has, and I'll pass the floor to Mr. Rivera, has agreed to help or assist with that.
I'm assuming that's through this records management fee.
Correct.
Account.
This money would be coming out of records management archival fee. We didn't use almost all our money this year, so we're planning on using that money to fund a little bit more than 25%, which I had agreed. It actually comes out to about 33%. We would come up with $27,436.87. You wouldn't have to come up with your part until 2 years, the second and the third year, and And then after that, we would have the maintenance fee to take care of, which is almost nothing. And all that money, on my part, comes out of records management. But this will help not only this Commissioner's Court, but all the departments to fast-track our agenda and our minutes, and we'll also go back and everything that's under the system now would be converted to this particular system, and the $8,000 to do that is included in the $27,000.
So it's 27,000 now and 19,000 thereafter for 2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
And then maintenance.
Then maintenance.
Plus the maintenance.
Which is almost nothing.
And by
What's
the,
that?
Plus the maintenance.
Correct.
no, but year 3 is just maintenance, isn't it?
No.
No, it's, we've got 2 more years of 19,000.
We would have 2 years of 19,000. That would include the maintenance.
Yeah.
And I would have to pay a little bit over $600 for those 2 years, actually for the next 4 years. And then yours would drop considerably down to about $2,405 for the last 2 years.
Good.
That's $2,405.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Motion for approval?
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item Y, do I hear a motion to table?
Thank you.
So moved.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides. Do I have a second by Commissioner Gatsa? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. 6A, budget amendments, line item transfers under salary schedules. We'll be all right.
Judge and Commissioners, I placed a packet of budget amendments and some salary schedules before you for various departments within their individual budgets. The ones, I guess, which are not, I guess on page 1 on the county court of law, there's some of the appointed attorney fees that were transferred out initially. I need to move back because there are some additional appointments that the individual county court of law courts still have to make. They're not all related to indigent defense. Some of that money is being transferred back. On the indigent defense, on page 2, that's just within their budget for from the appointed attorneys to court costs and professional services. There is one on page 3. Within the Sheriff's Department, they're out of funds for the transportation of inmates. Those are ones that they have to go either get from out of state or ones at other locations of the state that travel for that. They're out of that. They don't have the funds within any other line items within their budget, so what I'm having to use is the fuel budget, and it's allocating $10,000 from there to that transportation for inmates. The others are...
Is that the only fuel you've
Yes.
rated this month?
Yes, yes, sir. The last 2 pages that are separate are actually setting up budgets for 2 grants for the Health Department where their fiscal year began August 1st, and the salary schedules that are attached are related to those 2 particular grants.
You recommend their approval, Javier?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to approve? Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Approval of county claims and payroll.
Judge
Including
Commissioners, I have warrants number 223356 through 223592, check register dated July 31st. In that batch, you need to record check number 223557 is voided. The next check number to be approved is 223594. The register is dated July 31st. Next register is dated August the 5th, and that's warrants number 223595 to 223596. Then we have payroll-related claims, which are 223600 through 223728. Then we have a check register dated August the 6th, which is warrants number 223729 through 223762. I need to add two claims, two checks which were printed, but the system locked up and they were unable to get the check register printed. And those are checks number 223765, payable to Jackie Church for $1,200. The other one is check number 223764, payable to Morrison Electric for $3,681.14. The next is the payroll check register. Check date is August the 7th, and net payroll is $1,671,773.95 for approval.
Recommend their approval?
Yes, I do.
And you include payroll?
Yes, the last one was payroll.
Do I hear a motion?
To approve.
By Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatz. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Approval of minutes, July the 9th and July the 20th, 2009, a regular meeting and a special meeting. Court members have had a chance to look at this?
I'm ready. Is everybody else ready?
Do I hear a motion by
Motion
Commissioner
for
Tamayo?
approval.
Second by Commissioner Gatz. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item D, consideration possible action regarding the publishing of elected officials' maximum compensation for the 2009-2010 fiscal year. I think just post what we got now.
That's included in your packet was a copy of the notice with the current salaries or current total compensation for all for elected officials that are subject to the grievance process. This will be run in the newspaper this weekend. The hearing will be set for August the 20th at 5 p.m. when you will actually set their salaries.
Okay. This is what's in place today?
Correct.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the publishing?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wood. Do I have a second by Commissioner Benavides? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item E, Sheriff's Department Staff 2 travel to Austin, Texas to attend the TAC Annual Conference.
Is this required? T-close?
For hours, or?
All I have on that is that it is an annual conference that they are requesting to attend. I did not find anything where it would be any credit hours or if credit hours were needed for any particular individual.
Do I hear a motion to deny?
Are they, I have a question. Is anyone going, an officer or
I
a
mean, the
committee?
sheriff, what's,
It says 2 officers.
This is the TAC conference.
yeah, but the
The
TAC
legislative
conference,
conference.
is it T-close related?
No.
Is it,
The agenda item, the backup that was submitted as the agenda for the conference does not say that it is T-close related, I believe. I did not see that in there.
well, what have we been doing on these?
Denying them.
Moved it and then denied.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Is there anyone here that could speak to this?
You know what, if they find it meets the criteria that we've set, they can bring it back and replace it on the agenda.
Next week.
Yeah. Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item F, Treasurer travel to Grapevine, Texas. Same thing. Is it required?
This particular training, I believe, will give him 10 credit hours. Travel was done to Austin on April the 21st, and to Kerrville on...
I guess, does he need the hours?
He has 18 hours right now. He needs 20 hours that he can fulfill up until December of 09.
Okay, you
I
want
don't
to...
know if he's here right now.
Yeah.
He is. Oh, okay, good.
David, you want to use this one to complete your hours? Right. Okay.
Move to approve.
Second. Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Wood. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item G, consideration possible approval to grant the U.S., okay, that one I have to have a motion to table. That's the one where we acknowledge, yeah.
Move to table.
Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo to table. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries.
Judge Gaston also requested item H.
Do I hear a motion to
So
table
moved.
item H, consideration approval to authorize hiring of a warrant officer by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item I, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of an order appointing the members of the Padre Island Zoning Commission. Are we ready for that?
I already gave mine, my name.
Okay.
I'll give mine tomorrow.
You want to wait? Okay.
Well, we have to do it according to Richard. Here,
Right.
right?
Well, you have an order, you need to pass the order with them naming them.
Names on there.
Okay, you know what? You'll have it by next week, right? I mean, the next time we meet, let's put it back on the
Judge,
agenda.
well, you've got it, I would like to say, you need to come up with a term. I would suggest a 2-year term staggered, so that the first 3 on the list that are appointed would serve 1-year terms, and then that would start your staggering.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to, for the landowner appointee, we've selected Mr. Herb Houston, and I just wanted that on the record, so.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't we just start putting names down?
Okay, the names, let's go ahead for the record. We'll just need, maybe just Commissioner Wood, he can do that the next day or so. Commissioner Tamayo, who's your appointee?
So, yeah, handed that in to you.
Okay. Then for the record, what's the name?
Luis Hernandez.
Luis
Luis
Hernandez.
Hernandez. Commissioner Gatsa?
Roman Esparza,
Which Roman? The Realtor or the dad?
the Realtor.
The one at the island?
Yes.
Okay, Roman Esparza. My appointment is Horacio Barrera. Commissioner
Doyle Wells.
Doyle Wells. And then the city, who'd the city give me? I'll get that to you. I've got the city's appointee. So we'll just need
2 more.
2 more. We need Commissioner Woods and, which one?
And the city?
No, and the
The
city.
city.
Okay, I'll get the city to you tomorrow. Okay, but let's bring this back.
Then there's still another slot there.
There should be 7.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, Herb Houston, Roman Esparza, Luis Hernandez, Doyle Wells,
Horacio.
Horacio Barrera, and then the,
John's, the cities, and then 1 more. Weren't you going to appoint?
Yeah, you were going to appoint.
Will I appoint 2?
No, but what about
The city one.
Savaleta?
No,
that was the other.
Census
Yeah.
Committee.
Yeah, that's right.
That's 7, right? Okay, do the math again, pharmacist.
Well, I've got him down here, written
He's a
down.
pharmacist, he's not a CPA.
Luis
Luis Hernandez?
Hernandez, I didn't
Hernandez.
have that one on there.
That's mine.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and table this, and we'll bring back the next time, or we'll have the names ready to go. Do I hear a motion to table?
So moved.
We have Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item J, we're almost done. Consideration and possible approval of order establishing contract approval procedure.
Judge, this is the one you asked me to put back on the agenda. It's explained. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to explain it. It's on.
Well, this was on, what, years ago?
No, I put it on several months ago for approval. And the problem that we have with contracting, and actually we started doing this, we're trying to do it in 2006, but I don't have, if people refuse to do it, there's nothing I can do about it. And what we're telling vendors is you get your contract signed, get all the exhibits attached, we give it to the clerk, it's posted. If it's approved, then it can be signed by the judge, filed with the clerk, and then that copy, you can get a certified copy from her, and it's good for everyone, and we've got it. And our problem is when we don't do that, when we approve it first, you sign it, we circulate to the vendor, we don't always get it back.
Okay, does anybody have a problem, or have you had a chance to look at the procedures?
So it's mostly a procedure for you?
Well, it's a procedure for, actually it's a procedure for me, but it's for a contract basically because what we have problems with, Commissioners, time and again, is finding contracts that the department doesn't get back to the minute clerk. So it does help us, but it helps the county maintain their contract file.
And just make sure that if we approve this, that you get this to everybody, get all the department heads, elected officials, everybody can think of, so they don't say they didn't know.
Well, I can tell you, since 2006, every department head that brings a contract to us for approval, we tell them this.
Okay.
It doesn't happen, but I can't.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner
Well,
Tamayo. Discussion.
let me add one more caveat here. Can we add anywhere on this order that if they don't bring it back, it's considered non-executed?
Well, you mean if they don't turn it back?
Right.
Well, if they execute it first, then you just table it.
Okay, so this is going to execute it, so...
Yeah, they're going to have to execute it first before they submit it.
Otherwise, we can table it.
Otherwise, we're going to say...
It's going to take care of the problem.
Yeah.
It's going to improve the process.
It's going to improve the process, and it does give you an exception You know, invariably, there are situations that can develop, and it gives this board the ability, in the order, to grant an exception if there is one.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item K, consideration authorization to approve request from the town of South Padre Island for the placement and location of a shelter along Park Road 100 in front of the Schlitterbahn Water Park. They're going to do it, they just need our permission to do it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's going to be right out
They need
there.
our permission to do it
Yeah.
before they do it, right?
Right.
That's what I said.
So-
They're going to do it, but they need our permission to do it.
Correct. I just want to get approval so that we can work on the license agreement or interlocal, whatever
I'd like to see
document.
how much space will be utilized, how much parking we're gonna be giving up.
There's not going to be any parking. What it is just a shelter.
It's just a
The wave comes by and drops off or picks up people. And it's right across from Schlitterbahn. And there's a crosswalk there between Sea Ranch Restaurant and the water park. What happened, Commissioners,
But there's cars that park there now.
Yes.
On overflow, okay?
Right.
So we're gonna give up parking. Because when those areas are on overflow, you know, people use all that area to park on. This is gonna cause us to not be able to utilize that area for parking, even though it's not a designated parking,
right.
okay?
They don't collect any money, do we?
No, but all those people that park there frequent all the restaurants like Dirty Al's, the Dolphin Watch, all those things that indirectly pay us a fee.
How large
But-
is this?
That's,
They haven't given us any dimensions, but what it is just it's probably going to be maybe about 4 by
6 by 10 or 6 by 12
yeah,
or
it's going to be real
something?
small.
that doesn't look like a 6 by 10.
know, I was gonna say.
That looks like a major bus stop.
Well, there's two options. They're going to go probably with
Well,
the
but that's not,
ski more.
That's your conception.
that's just their drawing.
But where they're going to be putting this bus shelter, there's still a lot of room between the sidewalk and where those people from Schlitterbahn, and the people that park there are normally Schlitterbahn employees.
In that area we're talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
Do I hear motion to approve?
Well, I'd like to see, I mean, I don't have a problem approving the conceptual, but I have a problem approving it without having an exact dimension, where it's gonna go, how much space to drive in, how much space to drive out, how long it's gonna be.
It's not going to be a pull-in, Commissioner, it's just going to be right off the street.
Well, they're gonna have to pull off the street.
No, they're going to just
Stop on the
stop
street.
on the street, drop people off, or pick people up.
Well, still.
Just like buses do in the city.
You know, just have them, you know what, let's, do you want to table this? And then just have them give us a little bit more accurate rendition
I mean,
with some,
The location will
schematics.
not impact traffic flow, it says here. But they're gonna stop on the street.
that's what Javier wrote.
Yeah, I know, but they're gonna stop on the street, okay? So, you know, I don't have enough information.
That's what I'm saying. Do I hear a motion to table and then just bring a little bit more specific
Second.
info? Gatsa, moved
I
by
think-
Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo.
I think it's a good idea, because I think it's going to be very beneficial for the people that need a ride in it. But I agree, we need more information.
We met with them, and their first proposal, where they wanted it, was just right outside the north of the entrance, the main entrance to Schlitterbahn. And we asked them to, let's meet and let's look for another site, because we figured it was gonna block the view of people coming in and out of that entrance. Not only that, it was gonna, be a traffic hazard there, because there's two entrances. The one is to Sea Ranch and the one to Schlitterbahn. So we asked them to move it up, just past their sign.
Okay. Thank you, Javier.
Okay, all in favor to table, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Items L through Q are change orders. Do you want to take them one at a time, or do you want to do them all at the same time?
How come we had such big change orders?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
We can address them one at a time and...
Okay, let's do item L. Change order number 1, totaling $103,468.67.
Give you an overview of the project to date. As you all know, the Catasalas Rucker Detention Center expansion is underway. Yates Construction is the contractor, based out of San Antonio. Work started in April. We're 4 months into the job. Everything is going good. It's in full swing. I don't know if y'all have had a chance to visit out there, but most of the slab has been poured. The masonry walls are going up, and a lot of work is being done out there. All the tines are being made to the existing building. Submittals are being processed through the architect, through the contractor, for all the materials that are going to be used on the job. And the job is getting a good review by everybody involved, the architect, the contractor, the lab testing company. It's being looked at very well, and I feel comfortable in telling the court that the job is going well. Right now, the project's at about 20%. And inevitably, as I did on some of the other jobs, I come before the court with a presentation of some change orders. We're looking at one very large one.
If we can, we've got about $170-some-odd thousand worth of change orders, okay? Who's changing the building? I don't want to have a problem like we've done other situations where somebody's changing and making changes and we're not authorized. I know here we're being asked to approve the change order, but the first of $103,000, just give me that, what was that change order for?
That was for system requirements for plumbing, lighting, smoke control management, fire protection.
Okay, if those are, you said system requirements, okay, why weren't those incorporated into the original plan?
Well, chronology is that starting last year, we started developmental design drawings, and those, we have meetings, we're meeting with Yates, we're looking at budget numbers. In the fall of last year, November, documents are becoming are more well developed. They're handed to the Texas Commission on Jail Standards for their review. Now, the Jail Commission reviews the documents and then ultimately gives comments back to Aguirre Roden, the architect of record. In the meantime, we're trying to get construction started. We have a set of documents that have not yet incorporated the Commission's final comments. We go to contract with Yates based on those documents. Thereafter, the Commission's comments get fully incorporated into revisions, are issued by Aguirre Roden, and that is the basis for the $103,000 change.
Well, I know.
Pardon?
It's our fault.
It's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault. We're gonna see these changes whether we delay the time that we contract with Yates, or in this case, we got our contract with Yates, and we needed those commission comments to be incorporated. So if we had waited, we're still going to get the commission's comments. They're still going to get incorporated, and we're going to end up contracting with Yates for a higher contract amount based on what the commission has told us to do. The way it happened here, we wanted to get the job started. We went to contract with Yates at $15,042,349, and then the commission's comments become plans, become PCR number 1, proposed change request number 1, issued by the architect, and that's where we are.
So I said because Yates didn't have enough information to where they would meet the requirements of the jail standard. And if I'm understanding you correctly, the changes are due to the fact that we didn't have the design, or whatever you want to refer to it, as in accordance in accordance with the Jail Standard Commission. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Now, see, the other thing I'm concerned about, if you will note on that first change order, please note that this change proposal does not include the addition of the 2 light poles or changes to the landscaping as requested. So then they're going to come back and ask for more money to do that? They're making it very clear that the $103,468.67 does not include this other.
Landscaping, as you recall, the early design included a courthouse. There was a courthouse that was being requested by the magistrates. Agita designed the courthouse. It had a certain amount of landscaping associated with it. When we're trying to finalize the budget, it became a value engineering item and was removed. So if anything, we're going to have landscaping deletion. The light poles.
I mean, to me, light poles are extremely important. I can't imagine that they weren't there to begin with.
The light poles were associated with the courtroom had a parking lot, a new parking lot. The light poles were associated with that parking lot, and so was the landscaping. What we need to finalize as far as the project goes and within the project meetings is there's a certain amount of landscape that will not be used because we can't have trees near fences and things of that nature. I have Mr. Tom Freeman with Yates. He can speak to this issue about the light poles and the landscaping. And I will tell the court right now, we are 4 months into a 16-month job. This will not be the last time I come before the court requesting additional monies for changes. I don't know of what nature, but I do anticipate that this will be the biggest one we're going to be looking at throughout the job. Any other changes that are usually this big involve some sort of scope of work change where you add new cells or you add something significant to the job.
Well, I get awfully nervous when I see these many change orders. And you standing there telling me that we can expect more. I really have a problem with that.
3 of them are deducts.
3 of them are deducts. It doesn't total up to, it totals up to 134.
Some deductions, deletions.
Yeah, but he's saying that he's going to come back.
134, 123, 80.
Well, we're talking about L right now. And this is all based on the notes received from the commission that were incorporated.
Correct.
We don't have a choice.
I realize we don't have a choice, Commissioner Garza.
Oh, aye.
But what I'm saying is that I wish that from the get-go, we'd be talking to whomever we have to talk to so that this won't happen.
Well, we're doing that, but we're also trying to get the job started and avoid escalating material costs and other things that are going to increase the cost of our job. Commissioner Tamayo, I am charged with overviewing this project for the county and looking at the dollars and looking at the changes, so it makes me nervous too when I'm coming to the court with 3 additive change orders, one of them being $103,000. What I do want the court to know, though, is in the big picture, and when our job is done, we have contract provisions that allow for potential savings at the end of the job. I don't know what those are going to be right now, and I'm not going to sit here and tell the court that our original $15,042,000 budget is going to wind up being the number. But I can tell you that, it'll be my job to help look at it and ensure that we stay as close to budget as possible. And outside of anything that we can't control, like jail commission requirements. You know, we're going to
No, I know about the jail commission. I mean, we have to comply, that's all there is to it. All I'm saying is that I wish there'd be more meetings or whatever from the get-go, perhaps with the jail commission. Or is it the jail commission that's changing their mind on how the plan should go?
No, it was just the process. We started with design development drawings. We progressed into another set of drawings. By November, December of last year, the jail commission was looking at the documents. The county was anxious to
Get started.
And by the time we could finally incorporate the commission's comments into drawings, from the date of their final approval, blessing the drawings and telling the design team what they wanted, to when the plans were actually put out, we had already contracted with Yates.
What makes me nervous is this Ridgeway's $6,000 cost, okay? Which is the reprinting of documents, and you'd figure that that would be built into whatever Yates is charging us. They reprinted documents, and we get billed for every one of those documents, including the delivery to whoever they sent it to. I mean, if every change order is going to be a reprinting of all these documents, just on change orders and reprinting documents, we're going to see a $6,000 amount on a regular basis?
Well, that's
I don't
something.
believe that'll be the case. And I will let Mr. John Niefler with Aguida Roden speak to that, but I can say that this was a massive reprint of the project that affected all areas of the project, and
Well, maybe this is something we need to look at when the contract is drawn. You know, I guess evidently we weren't specific about it.
I can't believe that we would be responsible for the cost of reprinting documents on a $15 million project. You know, it's just beyond my comprehension.
Well, that's how they make money.
Yeah, but
And that's my concern, that things keep being added on expenses for the county. Okay, who's going to speak? We know
I know we're on item L.
Yeah.
But this item should also be looked at in conjunction with item M, which is a deductive change order, or deductive amount for $27,582. Because along with the additions from the comments of the jail commission, it also allowed for certain other systems to be removed, and those two should be looked at together. In fact, we waited to bring item L here before the court until we had gotten full pricing for item M. And I can also say that initially, item L was priced at $170,000. We met on it about 4 times, and Yates did their work with the subcontractors to ensure that.
So it went from what to what?
From 170 to 103.
Well, maybe we need to have 4 meetings with them every time. Look at the change that took place.
Well, every change is being looked at.
Do I hear a motion to?
Motion for approval. We have no choice.
Do you want to go one by one, or do you just want to
Just, we
Okay.
don't have to go one by one.
Let me hear a motion to approve item L.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item M, that's a deduct. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Second.
By Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner, that was Commissioner Wood, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item N, change order number 3, $57,060.98.
Another big item, lift station to be placed adjacent to the expansion. This came about once the excavation, the building pad started, once the plumbing roughing started. There are system elevations in place, sanitary sewer lines in place in the existing building, and we're trying to ensure that everything that is up flows down. In this case, the tolerance was extremely tight. We had discussions about this with the sheriff in the progress meetings. We had a very close tolerance. We are also looking at the future and what might be added on later. And it was felt that by putting in this lift station now, we're ensuring adequate flow of
There was no
sanitary
lift
sewer.
station in the original contract price?
No, there was not.
It wasn't anticipated.
It wasn't anticipated. We could have come in back earlier this year and included costs for a lift station, and then been challenged on it and saying, why did you include it? And, well, we really don't know if we need it, but we decided to put it in there anyway. I mean, that could have been the scenario. So in this way, we've started the job.
But you figure they would have done those elevations and they would have known the variances
Exactly.
from the beginning, because they used, existing elevations of the current jail. They knew what the drainage system was, not the drainage, the sewer system was. They knew the depths of the sewer system. So, you know what elevations you're working out of.
Commissioner, and I agree with you, and we did know those elevations.
I'm not blaming you, I'm blaming.
No, but I'm just trying to tell you why it's happened. As we're beginning our plumbing rough-in on the project, we are coming down to a zero tolerance on the flow line, and this court could decide not to approve this, and we could
Have a major
may
plumbing problem.
or may not have any future problems.
Yeah.
But by doing this now, we ensure that we won't.
Yeah, but the elevations didn't change from when we were planning to now. Okay? That's what I'm getting to. I mean, Earth didn't move in one side and go down on the other. Things are still the same. We should have known then that rough-in elevations would have been at a level that needed a lift station.
Well, I can tell you that one, and I don't mean to sound argumentative, but I'm just trying to give you the facts of what has happened. There's an existing line underneath the area where the inmates leave when they leave jail. There was an existing underground sanitary line that was capped and was in there for future expansion. So when Yates came out to the job and started their excavation, we knew the line was there, but 4 feet underground or whatever it was, 3 feet, we didn't have the exact elevation of it. We knew what it was supposed to be per existing plans from the the old jail, or from the existing jail. But until we actually take a level reading on it and get that elevation,
So it wasn't necessarily what it was supposed to be, in other words?
no, I don't know what that variance is. I don't know what that variance is right now, but it was an item that was surveyed once the excavation began.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next change order.
It's a deduct.
It's a deduct. Do I hear a motion to approve? Moved by Commissioner
You
Woods, second by
negotiate that as much
Commissioner
as you could.
Tamayo. Benavides.
Yes.
All in favor? signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. The other one to deduct as well. Do I hear a motion to approve? By Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item Q, change order number 6, $8,358. Make it quick and dirty.
Hardware schedule. Is this the plastic stuff?
With the plastic stuff, I don't know.
John, would you like to speak to this particular design item? This is a
Food pass.
cuff board in the hardware, the door hardware.
Judge Coscos and members of the court, my name is John Niefler. I'm with Aguirre Roden. We are the architects and engineers for your project. This item, number 6, is in some respects a discretionary one, but one which we recommend. After the contract was signed with Yates Construction, it came to our attention that there was a device that is used from time to time in detention facilities, a cuff port indoors. This allows the Sheriff's Department to manage and put handcuffs on detainees in a somewhat more safe and more quick manner. It is, we have reviewed this with the Sheriff's Department. They believe that it is worthwhile. It has the benefit of allowing for a reduction in the chance of injury to the Sheriff's Department staff and to the detainees. It also allows for the Sheriff's Department to move detainees more quickly in the facility and to remove them from the facility. We think it is an operational benefit, and however, it is not a requirement of jail commission. The Sheriff's Department favors it. We think that it is worthwhile, and we recommend it. Thank you. I'll stand to questions.
Any questions?
If it's something that you know, you would have recommended, why wasn't it put in the plans?
It was...
I mean, it's that little slit that, you know, they put their hands through, right? Like we see on TV, and they put the cuffs and then they open the door?
Commissioner Garza, that's the device, yes. That's the device.
You watch a lot of TV, don't you?
I watched something that showed that the other day.
And it could have been included in the original documents. Our initial effort was to produce a set of documents that was the optimum cost to you, and it was not a mandatory requirement, and so it was not included.
Somebody brought it up.
Do I hear a motion?
That's what happened.
Move to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Woods, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, item carries. Last item, FEMA reimbursements.
Did they send any bonuses, Robert?
Any change?
Any change orders?
We're going to call again. We're going to call
We need to, I was going to say
FEMA
to
folks again and find out where they're at. And
whatever worked last time, Robert, let's do it again.
I spoke with the judge earlier in regards to this, and we're going to take some time out tomorrow to actually call to the top, call Mr. Colley if he's available. And
I'm going to call him tonight when I get out of here.
Let's see what strings we can pull.
Call him at 11.
We'll call him right
I
now.
got a call last night from a district judge at 11 at night.
Someone that called me 10:30.
Since last time we've had a little change. We had originally a 7.1 reimbursement, and we're now at a 7.4, so there has been additional funds allocated. The only thing is there's been no reimbursement, so.
That's
But
about
they
right.
allocated funds.
They're there, they said they've approved the projects, but
It's just amazing if they're allocated. Why aren't they in our
glad
hands?
they paid on. Yes, ma'am.
Do I hear a motion to acknowledge? By Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Moved by Commissioner Benavides and by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. God save this honorable court.